The show had just ended. The lights dimmed, the audience faded, and the applause that once echoed like thunder now lived only in memory. Outside, Los Angeles buzzed with noise and neon, but inside that quiet dressing room, Keanu Reeves sat alone. He didn't move for a long time. The silence wrapped around him like an old coat, familiar, worn, and heavy. He had lit a single candle on the small wooden table beside the mirror. He didn't know why. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was hope. The flickering light cast shadows across his tired face, revealing not a man of fame or fortune, but someone deeply human, someone who had seen too much, loved too hard, and lost quietly in the spaces where no one watched. His phone buzzed once. He didn't reach for it. There was no urgency anymore. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, the end of another long shoot, another film wrapped. People were out drinking, laughing, posting stories. But Keanu had chosen solitude. Not because he was sad, but because sometimes, when the noise stopped, that's when the truth came in. He stared into the mirror. He didn't see the actor. He saw the boy who used to wait by the window, the young man who stood by his sister's hospital bed, the partner who once held love so gently in his hands and lost it in a single heartbeat. The candle's light trembled as if echoing the same fragile rhythm in his chest. Outside, footsteps passed. Laughter drifted through the hallway. But Keanu remained still. And then, just as he reached to adjust the candle wick, there was a sound. A soft knock on the door. Not loud, not rushed. Just gentle. Like someone unsure if they should be there. He turned slowly, unsure if he had imagined it. The knock came again. Same rhythm. Soft. Careful. He stood, walked to the door, paused. His hand hovered over the handle. He didn't ask who it was. He just opened it. And there she stood. Ana de Armas. Her eyes were red. Not from makeup. Not from the day's long shoot. From something else. Something deeper. She looked like someone who had just run through a storm but carried no umbrella. Her smile was small, almost apologetic. "Can I come in?" she whispered. Keanu nodded, stepping aside. No questions, no judgment, just space. And that small gesture, unspoken and quiet, changed something between them. Something fragile opened. She walked in slowly, looking around the dim room. Her eyes stopped at the candle. "You always do this?" she asked softly. Keanu shrugged. "Sometimes. It helps." Ana sat down on the old couch. She leaned forward, elbows on knees, hands locked together like she was holding herself in place. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. He sat beside her but gave her space. "You came to the right place." For a long moment they didn't speak. Only the candle moved, flickering gently. Ana looked at it, her eyes reflecting the flame. "I had a panic attack on set today," she finally said. "No one saw. I hid in the bathroom until it passed. But I wasn't okay. And I didn't want to go home. Not yet." Keanu didn't say sorry. He didn't offer cliches. He just listened, and that was enough. Ana breathed in deeply, then let it go in one long, shaky exhale. "I think I'm tired of pretending." Keanu nodded slowly. "Pretending is heavy." "Do you ever feel like you're floating above your own life?" she asked, turning toward him. "Like everyone sees you, but no one really sees you?" He didn't answer with words. He just looked into her eyes, and in that silence, she knew. He had lived that feeling for years. Ana sat back against the couch, her shoulders relaxing for the first time all night. You always seem calm, she said, even when everything's falling apart. Keanu smiled faintly. I learned that calm doesn't mean peace. Sometimes it just means I've learned how to stand still while everything inside me shakes. Anna closed her eyes. The room grew quieter. Even the hallway outside seemed to hold its breath. My father left when I was 6, she said suddenly. I don't talk about it much. I think part of me still waits for him. Like, if I become famous enough, kind enough, strong enough, maybe he'll notice. Maybe he'll come back. Keanu didn't flinch. His voice was barely a whisper when he replied. My father left too. Anna opened her eyes and turned to him. Really? He nodded. When I was 3. I don't remember him. Not really. Just flashes. But I remember the silence he left behind. It followed me into adulthood. They sat there, 2 people lit by a single candle, sharing scars not through pain, but through quiet understanding. Anna wiped her face. I didn't come here to unload on you. You didn't unload, Keanu said. You shared, and that matters. A pause. Then she laughed, softly. You're always like this, aren't you? Like what? The candle inside the cabin flickered. Another one they'd lit together earlier that morning, before the sun even rose. Anna stood slowly, then walked back inside. She sat across from the flame, knees tucked beneath her. Keanu followed, but didn't speak. She stared at the light. Do you think broken people can be whole again? Keanu walked to the table and added a second candle beside the first. He lit it slowly. I think, he said, that broken doesn't mean less. It just means honest. Anna smiled. I've never heard it said like that. He sat beside her. Maybe we've been taught to fear our cracks when they're the most human thing about us. She looked at the 2 candles. We should do something with this. With what? This feeling, this space, this truth. Maybe we don't just light candles for ourselves. Keanu looked at her. What are you thinking? I don't know yet. But maybe there's something we can build. Not a project, not a film, something real. For people like us. People who feel lost. People who need somewhere to go. Even if it's just a small room and a single candle. Keanu was quiet for a moment, then smiled. You mean like a sanctuary? Anna nodded. Yes, a place where people don't have to pretend. Keanu reached across the table and gently placed his hand over hers. Then let's build it. Anna's voice trembled. Even if we're still figuring it out? Especially then. Outside, the wind picked up, but inside the candles stood firm, soft, glowing, unshaken. Anna leaned her head on Keanu's shoulder. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let her be. And in that silence, the idea grew, not just in words, but in heart. They didn't know yet how they'd do it, or where, or when. But they knew why. Because everyone deserves a place where the lights don't blind you. They hold you. A place where you're not asked to shine, just to be. 2 weeks passed. The studio had called Keanu back. They needed him for reshoots. Anna, too. Schedules couldn't be avoided forever. The cabin had become a memory, warm, still, glowing. But reality waited with cold hands and urgent clocks. They returned to set. Cameras, assistants, wires on the floor, bright lights that didn't care who was tired. Everyone smiled, but no one really asked how they were. Just, you good? And, let's roll. Anna answered with a smile. Keanu answered with a nod. But the candlelight from the cabin hadn't left them. It stayed inside, flickering gently behind the eyes, behind the practiced expressions. During a break between takes, Anna sat alone in the makeup trailer. The room was full of mirrors. Everywhere she looked, she saw herself, but not the self she wanted to be, just the version the world expected. She looked into her reflection and whispered, "You don't even look like me." The makeup artist returned, humming, fixing her foundation, curling lashes. Anna sat still, her thoughts louder than the brushes. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Keanu. "Come outside." She excused herself and walked past the trailers, through the side gate. He was there, sitting in a golf cart under the shade of a tree. 2 coffees in hand. Same coat. Same calm. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, though her eyes said no. He handed her the coffee. "Ride with me?" She nodded again. They drove quietly through the studio lot, past empty sets, past extras on breaks, until they reached a back corner where old props were stored, faded signs, half-built stages, forgotten chairs. "I used to come here in the early days," Keanu said, "before things got big, when I felt small in a good way." Anna looked around. "Feels like a graveyard for make-believe." "Yeah," he said, "and somehow more real than the rest of the lot." They parked and sat on 2 overturned crates. The sun came through a broken panel above them. Anna took a slow sip. "I hate mirrors lately." Keanu didn't look surprised. "They don't show truth, just surfaces." "Exactly," she said. "I want to see something deeper." Keanu leaned forward. "Then let's build a room without mirrors." Anna looked at him. "What do you mean?" "The sanctuary we talked about. Let's really build it. A real place. No mirrors, no cameras. Just quiet and candles. A place people can come and leave their titles at the door." Anna smiled slowly. It wasn't just an idea anymore, not a fantasy spoken during soft candlelight. It was something she could feel in her hands now. "Where do we even start?" she asked. "With 1 room," Keanu said. "That's all we need." They finished the coffee. Drove back. The day continued like usual. Lights, lines, camera clicks. But something was moving underneath. That night Anna couldn't sleep. The idea had taken root. She grabbed her notebook and wrote down everything that came to her. Gentle. Present. The world's falling apart, and you make it feel like it's still okay to breathe. Keanu looked down at his hands. "I've learned that presence is the one thing we can always offer. It doesn't fix everything, but it changes everything." Anna nodded. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Not as a romantic gesture, not as a move, but as something else. Human. Raw. Real. And Keanu didn't pull away. In that quiet room, something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Something that didn't need to be named. Something that would carry forward into the next day and the day after that. Outside, the night moved on. But inside, 2 souls sat close to the flickering light, holding on to something fragile yet steady. And neither of them needed to say a word. They just stayed there. Because sometimes the softest knock leads to the loudest healing. The next morning, Ana de Armas woke up on the small couch in Keanu's dressing room. The candle had long burned out. Its wax melted into soft edges on the table. Light filtered in through the curtains, warm and slow. It was quiet. Too quiet for Los Angeles. But she didn't mind. For the first time in weeks, her heart didn't feel like it was trying to outrun something. Keanu was sitting nearby in the same chair, sipping tea from a chipped white mug. He hadn't slept. Or maybe he had for an hour or 2. He didn't look tired, though. He looked still, like someone who didn't expect anything but had learned to be okay with what came. Anna sat up slowly. Her voice was rough. "Did you stay all night?" Keanu nodded without looking at her. You were safe. That mattered. Those words settled inside her like soft rain. No one had said anything like that in a long time. She rubbed her eyes, then looked at him. Thank you. Keanu finally looked at her. You don't have to thank me for caring. She smiled weakly. I don't know what I walked into last night. I just knew I needed to knock. I'm glad you did, Keanu said. Most people don't knock. They wait for permission that never comes. Anna looked down. Maybe I'm tired of waiting. There was a pause, not an awkward one, a full one. A silence that held more weight than any words could carry. Keanu broke it gently. I used to think being strong meant staying quiet, hiding the cracks. But the truth is, real strength is knowing when to show someone your hands are shaking. Anna nodded slowly. Mine still are. Mine too. They sat there for a moment before Anna whispered, I don't want to go to set today. Keanu didn't push. Then don't. Come with me instead. Where? Somewhere quiet. And so they left. No announcement. No driver. Just the two of them, walking like strangers through the side door of the studio. Anna wore sunglasses and an old hoodie. Keanu wore his usual black coat, the same one people always whispered about, like it had seen too many winters. They drove in silence. The city blurred past, tall buildings and flashing signs, but neither of them paid attention. The world outside could wait. Keanu took her to a small place in the hills. Not a mansion, not a retreat, just a cabin. Weathered wood, wide windows, surrounded by trees that didn't care who was famous. You live here? She asked. Sometimes, he said. It's where I come when the noise gets too loud. Anna stepped inside slowly. It smelled like cedar and old books. She could hear birds outside, wind through leaves, the kind of silence that made her feel small in a good way. She sat by the window. Keanu placed a blanket around her shoulders and handed her another cup of tea. She looked at him and said, Why are you like this? Like what? Kind, present, soft in a world that teaches you to be hard. Keanu thought for a moment. Because I know what it feels like when no one is. Anna looked away. Her throat tightened. She hated crying in front of people. It always felt like losing. But with him, it didn't feel like that. It felt like breathing. She stared out the window. I used to pretend I had it all together, especially when the cameras came out. People said I was strong, confident, magnetic, but inside, I felt like I was held together with string. I've been there, Keanu said softly. When my sister got sick, I stopped smiling in photos. Not because I was angry. Just nothing felt funny anymore. Anna turned to him. How do you carry so much and still stay kind? Keanu looked out toward the trees. By not carrying it alone. She looked down at her hands, trembling again. I think I've been carrying everything alone for too long. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached beside him and lit a candle. It was the same brand as the one in his dressing room. Simple, scentless, soft light. What does that mean? She asked. It means you're not alone anymore. A room with no mirrors, a place where phones don't ring, tea, always warm walls painted in calm candles, lit without needing a reason. Books for those who don't want to talk, silence for those who do, a person to listen, not fix. She closed the book, breathed deep. She felt something she hadn't felt in months. Purpose. Not for the camera, not for fame, but for something real. The next morning, she and Keanu sat in a corner of the studio cafe with blank paper between them. Sketching layouts, scribbling names. They didn't care about investors. They didn't care about press. They cared about hearts. "What if it's just one room in a quiet part of the city?" Anna said. "People can book time, or just knock. And when they enter," Keanu added, "we tell them, you don't have to be anything here. Just be." Anna looked at him. "It's not just a space. It's a pause." Exactly. They kept building it on paper. No press releases, no announcement, just quiet action. They rented a small space in Silver Lake. Old bookstore closed years ago. Dusty, but full of soul. Keanu paid the deposit. Anna picked the colors. On the front door they put no name, just a sign that read, "Knock softly." Inside, they painted the walls in muted tones, placed shelves of books, stacked blankets, lit candles in corners, hung wind chimes on the back window. No mirrors. They opened it quietly. No launch event. No influencers. Just a door. And a light inside. The first person who came in was a man in his 60s. Gray sweater, shaking hands. He sat in the corner and cried for 45 minutes. Anna brought him tea. Didn't ask questions. Just sat near. He left a note before walking out. "Thank you for the room." I remembered who I was. Keanu found the note and folded it carefully. Put it in a wooden box they kept behind the desk. They didn't collect emails. They collected stories. The second visitor was a teenager. Headphones in, eyes tired. She curled up in the window seat and read for hours. No phone, no talking, just peace. By the end of the first week, word had spread, not online, just in hearts. People told people, stories told stories. Keanu and Anna sat in the back room most evenings, watching the candlelight dance across the walls. "This," she said one night, "feels more honest than anything I've ever filmed." Keanu smiled. "Because it is." Anna placed her hand over her notebook. "You think we'll always need this room?" Keanu nodded slowly. "Yes, because there will always be someone carrying too much in silence." And she knew then, this wasn't a side project. It was a lifeline, not just for others, but for them too. The room had no mirrors. It had no sign outside. No photos were allowed inside. No one took selfies. No one came to be seen. Yet every day, someone knocked softly. And every day, Anna and Keanu opened the door. They took turns. Sometimes together. Sometimes one would just sit near the door, waiting. No scripts, no expectations, just space. By now, the room had been open for 6 weeks. They called it the Quiet Flame, though no one ever said the name aloud. The words weren't painted anywhere. They only existed in whispers, passed from one soul to another. The little wooden box behind the desk now held dozens of folded notes, some short. "Thank you for letting me sit without explaining. Some long. I came here after my wife left. I thought I would break. Instead, I found stillness. And stillness held me when nothing else did." Anna read each one like a prayer. She folded them carefully, as if they might tear if touched too quickly. Keanu would reread certain lines at night, sometimes with a glass of tea in his hand, sometimes with tears in his eyes. But then the storm came. Not a real storm. Not the kind with wind or rain. This one came with flashing lights, microphones, headlines. One day, a young woman came in, quiet, broken. She sat for 3 hours, cried, left. She didn't say a word. A week later, her photo appeared in a viral post. "Guess who I saw crying in a secret Hollywood hideout?" And just like that, the stillness cracked. Within 2 days, press camped outside. Influencers tried to get in. Cameras flashed at the door. Anna stood at the back window, watching it all unfold. Her hands trembled. "We didn't protect it," she whispered. Keanu stepped beside her. His jaw was tight. "We still can." They closed the room that day, locked the front door, turned the candles out, taped a small note outside, "Temporarily closed. Thank you for understanding." The city didn't understand. It speculated. Headlines asked why Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas had created a secret wellness cult. Articles debated whether the place even existed. People laughed, joked, criticized. Keanu and Ana didn't respond. They stayed quiet. But inside, the silence hurt. Her throat ached. Not from sadness, but from truth. She turned toward the kitchen. "Keanu?" He was standing by the stove, heating water. Same old mug, same gentle smile. "Yeah? We should light the original candle tonight." He nodded slowly. "It's time." They waited until nightfall. Then they sat in the same dressing room where it all began. The studio had changed. The shows were newer, the faces younger. But the room still held something sacred. Ana took the candle from her bag. The one she had kept all these years. The one Keanu had lit that night, the night she knocked. She placed it on the table by the mirror. The same mirror she once looked into and said, "You don't even look like me." But this time, when she glanced into the glass, she saw herself. Soft, steady, seen. Keanu struck the match. The flame flickered to life, and they sat in silence. No one knocked. No one spoke. But everything inside them whispered. Because the candle wasn't just a symbol anymore. It was a beginning. A reminder. That one quiet knock can change everything. That silence isn't empty. That presence is louder than any applause. And that the smallest light can guide someone home. Outside, the city buzzed like it always did. Cars, cameras, chaos. But inside that little room, time stood still. Ana leaned back. "We never asked for this," she said softly. Keanu nodded. "But maybe it asked for us." She turned to him, eyes warm. "You ever think about how it all started?" Keanu looked at the candle. "Every day." She smiled. "Me too." The flame danced gently, casting golden light on the walls. They didn't need to say goodbye to the story, because it wasn't ending. It was being passed on, one quiet knock at a time. They returned to the cabin, not to hide, but to think. Ana sat on the porch swing, the same spot where she had once cried into tea. Now she just stared at the stars. "Maybe it was too good to last," she said. Keanu sat beside her. "Or maybe it was too real for the world we're in. I feel like we failed them." "No," he said. "We protected them." Ana buried her face in her hands. "I wanted to believe people would understand." Keanu placed a hand gently on her back. "Some did. Some always will." They stayed at the cabin for 2 days. No phones, no internet, just trees, wind, and quiet. On the 3rd day, Ana lit a candle and sat on the floor. "What if we build it again?" she asked. "But differently." Keanu sat across from her. "How?" "Smaller, quieter, harder to find. Not one room, but many. Secret places, scattered, trusted, safe." Keanu's eyes softened. "A quiet network." Ana nodded. "We find people like us, people who've walked through storms, who know how to hold space. And we train them, not like instructors, but like listeners." "We don't advertise it," Keanu added. "We don't post about it. It grows by trust alone." Ana smiled. Like a flame passed from one hand to another. They stayed up that night, drawing maps, making lists. Not of names, but of hearts they knew. People they had seen survive. Actors, assistants, a stage manager who once held Anna's hand during a panic attack, a stunt coordinator who lost his wife and never spoke about it again. A barista Keanu once tipped extra after she told him, "You were the first person to ask if I was okay." These were the people they reached out to, quietly, personally, one by one. No big speeches, no promises, just an invitation. Would you hold a flame for someone who needs it? Many said yes. Some didn't reply. But that was okay. Over time, rooms began to appear. Not just in Los Angeles. A bookstore in Vancouver closed its doors every Wednesday evening for private reflection. A florist in Madrid kept a back room with nothing but a candle and a note that said, "Sit as long as you need." A small library in Tokyo added a corner with blankets, soft music, and a sign. "No one will ask you anything here." Anna called them light rooms. Keanu just smiled and called them homes. The world didn't see them, didn't film them, but they grew. And more than anything else they had done, movies, awards, premieres, this made them feel alive. One evening, months later, a stranger knocked softly on the cabin door. Anna opened it. The woman looked nervous, maybe early 30s, holding nothing but a small paper in her hand. I'm sorry, she said. Someone gave me this address. They said it was a place where people listen. Anna stepped aside without a word. She lit a candle, and the woman cried in silence for an hour. When she left a note on the table. "I've never been hugged by silence before. Thank you." Anna folded it and added it to a new box. This one they kept in the cabin. They called it the second flame. Years had passed. Not loud years. Not the kind that make headlines, but quiet ones, meaningful ones. Ones built in soft rooms and quiet corners of the world. The light rooms had grown slowly, carefully, never forced, never marketed. They lived like whispers, passed hand to hand, heart to heart. There were now 52 of them across the world. None had signs, all had candles. Some were run by retired nurses, others by baristas, teachers, widows, people who had once knocked on doors just like Anna had. And every month, a letter arrived at the cabin. Not emails, never emails. Handwritten notes from strangers, from friends, from souls that had been touched and held by the rooms they never knew existed until they needed them. Anna kept them all in a drawer she called the third flame. Keanu called it the proof that silence heals. But they never spoke of the light rooms to the public, not in interviews, not on red carpets, not even when curious journalists asked gently, "Is there something you're both working on, off-screen?" They just smiled. "Just life," Anna would say. "Just listening," Keanu would add. And that was enough. They still acted, now and then, but only in stories that meant something, films that honored stillness, characters that were broken but brave. They never needed the spotlight again. They had found something softer, something real. One afternoon, as rain touched the cabin roof gently, Anna sat by the window, tracing a finger down a letter from a woman in Copenhagen. The letter read, "I was going to end my life. Then someone knocked on my apartment door. They said nothing, just handed me a note with an address and walked away. It was a flower shop. I sat in the back for hours, cried for the first time in years. No one asked why. No one tried to fix me. I walked out feeling like I still mattered. Thank you for the room you'll never see. You saved me without knowing." Anna placed the letter in the drawer. They sat by the candle, the silence between them no longer empty. Anna closed her eyes for a moment. Her heart was still loud, but it wasn't screaming anymore. Then Keanu spoke quietly. "Yesterday, When you knocked, it wasn't just for you. It was for me, too. She opened her eyes. What do you mean? I'd forgotten what it felt like to be needed. Not as a star, not as a name, but as a person. Anna looked at him. Something shifted in her chest, something soft and scary. You were always more than a name, she said. He met her eyes. So were you. Outside, the wind changed direction. The leaves whispered something no one else could hear. Inside, two people sat still, surrounded by everything they never said aloud. And then Anna asked the question she had held for too long. Keanu, do you ever feel like you missed something important in life because you were too busy surviving? He didn't answer right away. Then softly, every single day. She exhaled slowly. Me too. They didn't try to fix anything that day. They didn't plan or rehearse or pretend. They just stayed in that small cabin, eating toast, watching trees sway, and letting the world spin without them for once. At dusk, as the sun dropped behind the hills, Anna reached for the candle and said, "Can I light the next one?" Keanu handed her a match. Always. She struck it carefully. Flames sparked. She leaned in and lit the wick. It caught quickly, glowing like a tiny sunrise between them. They watched it burn, and without saying it, they both understood. Something old had ended, and something new had just begun. It had been 3 days since Anna stayed at the cabin. The outside world had started to notice. Agents were calling, assistants were checking in. People whispered on set about where she'd gone, where he'd gone, but no one dared speak it too loudly. Something about Keanu's quiet presence made even gossipers think twice. Back at the cabin, Anna was pacing barefoot across the wooden floor, a mug of warm tea in her hands. She wasn't used to this much silence. Not the kind that suffocates, but the kind that reflects. The kind that shows you your own face, without makeup, without angles, without filters. Keanu sat outside on the porch, carving something into a piece of old wood. He wasn't trying to make art, just movement. Focus, breath, the kind of act that made the world smaller and simpler. Anna stepped out and sat beside him, knees pulled to her chest. They're probably thinking we disappeared. Maybe we did, he said gently. Is that so bad? Not if we needed to. Anna sipped her tea. I haven't cried since the night I knocked on your door. You don't have to cry to be healing. She looked down at the carving. It was a small flame, like the candles they kept lighting. Imperfect, but steady. What are you making? She asked. Keanu shrugged. A reminder. That light doesn't need to be big to matter. Anna leaned her head against the wooden post beside her. I don't think anyone's ever made me feel safe the way you do. Keanu paused his carving. You make yourself safe. I'm just nearby. She turned toward him. No, you listened. You didn't fix. You didn't interrupt. You stayed. And I needed that more than anything. He looked at her, eyes soft. I needed it too. They sat in stillness again, the kind that doesn't demand conversation, only presence. Then Anna whispered something almost too quiet to catch. I was going to quit. Keanu turned slowly. What? The industry. The work. Everything. After this film, I was going to walk away. He didn't ask why. He just waited. Because I couldn't tell who I was anymore, she said. Every version of me belonged to someone else. The public, the press, the directors. Even my own mirror felt rented. I forgot how to be just me. Keanu nodded slowly. It's easy to lose yourself when everyone wants a piece of you. I thought I was strong enough, she said. But strength doesn't mean you don't break. Strength, Keanu said, is how you rise after you do. Anna looked at him, her eyes shining again, but not with sadness, with truth. What made you stay? All these years? What made you keep showing up? Keanu breathed in the mountain air, let it out slowly. Grief, mostly. And hope. Hope? Yeah. That someday something good would find me. And when it did, I'd be still enough to recognize it. Anna leaned forward. And have you? Keanu didn't speak, but the way he looked at her, the way his silence said more than any line ever could, answered everything. Anna's hands trembled around her mug. No one ever taught me how to feel safe in stillness, she whispered. Keanu's voice was low, like a warm thread of wind. Maybe it's something we teach ourselves. Together? He nodded. Together.